All right, so now we're continuing with this spirit possession, and I just wanted you to have a look at a tiny fraction of the kind of material that's out there, because the next thing I'm going to discuss is defining spirit possession, and that's really, really hard to do. Let's see, we've got new interdisciplinary perspectives on possession and trance. We've got, oh, I'm dropping books left and right. Here we go. Believe not every spirit, early modern Catholicism. We've got Fusion of the Worlds. This stuff is great. This is from Africa. We've got, here's another one, Kupilikula. I've really used this guy a lot, so this is from Africa. How about Among the Azande from Evans Pritchard? Any of you anthropologists will be familiar with him. Here's Sacred Possessions, Voodoo, Santeria, Obeah, and the Caribbean. Lots of literature stuff studied in there. Mama Lola, a voodoo priestess in New York. That's pretty famous amongst anthropologists. Jamaica Genesis, what's going on in Jamaica with spirit possession. Trances, dances, and vociferations, agency and resistance in Africana women's narratives. Right? Shamans, housewives, and other restless spirits. Any of you housewife people who are balancing work life, you might recognize the issue of restless spirits. Anyway, I'm speaking from personal experience, right? So there's Korea. This one on feminism, postmodernism, and ethnographic responsibility. Well, I'm trying to remember. I've even written about her. I think that's Taiwan. Ecstasy, ritual, and alternate reality. Religion in a pluralistic world. This is a big comparative study about different modes of communities doing this. Here we have Oaxaca. Who wants to head there for spring break? There we go. Dream worlds of shamanism and Tibetan Buddhism. We've got it in Buddhism. Here's the Mayotte down islands off of the east coast of Africa. Here's Malaysia, Spirits of Resistance. The Devils of Ludan. Any of you guys crazy movie watchers? You'll know there's a very crazy, what's his name, John Waters? Is that the guy who did that? The classic, Ecstatic Religion by I.M. Lewis. Let's see what else. I don't mean to bore you. I want you to understand, here's more Africa, and embodying colonial memories, and this is when colonial spirits begin to possess people who previously had African spirits possessing them. And they have remarkable behaviors when, like, the surveyor comes and possesses them, and they walk stiffly and they pound things out and they want to know distance and they want to make roads, and absolutely fascinating. All right? So, we're talking about a lot of phenomena in a lot of places. How do you define this? So, I follow Anne Gold, and she defined it for her study in Rajasthan, India, as, quote, any complete but temporary domination of a person's body and the blotting of that person's consciousness. Consciousness gone, blotted, at least fuzzy, weird, not in control anymore, by a distinct alien power of known or unknown origin. Right? So once, if somebody's established in a tradition, they'll know very intimately, and we'll see this, that the community recognizes, oh, Shango's got her. Oh, Ocean is here. So the community begins to understand who this is. But early on in most mediums' experiences, that the early experiences are very awkward, difficult, trying to discern what's going on. All right. So that definition highlights the problem of subjectivity and agency, right? If I'm gone, consciousness is blotted, what kind of power could I have? Right? Where's that agency question? How do you talk about the power of somebody whose consciousness is gone? Now, given the fact that few traditions outside of Christianity ever called this phenomena spirit possession, why use this as an umbrella term? In part, as you saw, once you've got this stuff happening and people can recognize significant repetitions of similar behaviors, It's just pragmatic to do it. But I give you two cautions in there. The first being, if you look at the words used in the original traditions, you'll find very, very interesting things, right? You'll find that, let's see, did I include it here? I cut it out. You'll find that in some traditions, a person might be called a little pocket. Now that starts getting to be quite interesting, right? So they are an empty pocket in which the spirit is received. In others, you will find that they are called a mount, and like a horse, they are ridden. And so you will learn a great deal about the specificity of each tradition if you take care of learning what is their specific term. So we'll use spirit possession, but let's look carefully at each place because we'll learn something unique about what makes that place unique, that tradition unique. And then the second thing is, we tend in the West to say that a self-possessed person is thought of admirably. And so if we use the term spirit possession, realize there could be, we might be thinking, well, self-possessed is normal, so spirit possessed is inferior. So realize that the word could carry a kind of baggage with you that you have to try and jettison. Hopefully we're getting there on that. All right, so I began this by saying that there's a problem, that spirit possession has often been looked at with deprivation theory, so these poor backward people. I tried to propose a solution here, that there might be three different ways of seeing humans that are possessed that moves them from an exotic, wacko outside literally into the center of a normativity. So now, we've covered definition. We get to look as our kind of final issue here at the whole issue of a gender analysis of this kind of receptivity. So women are possessed by male and female deities. I can show you examples of both. Men are possessed by male and female deities. And in all cases, you will find that gendered tropes, what I call gendered tropes, are employed. So that means that the fact of if you're a woman with a man speaking through you, or if you're a man with a woman speaking through you, or a woman with a woman speaking through you, you will find that people don't ignore this gendered male-female elements. And so gendered tropes means they will figure a phrase or a metaphor to help explain what's happening. So two examples I gave was in the Hasidic tradition of Judaism, the name for the possession of a male was Eber. So if a man was possessed, it was understood as a remarkable pregnancy. He was so holy, he was pregnant in his being possessed. Meanwhile, right, so that's a gender trope. Meanwhile, women would be, are generally in that tradition, considered possessed by a debukim, mostly male spirits, and they don't call it Eber, right? So that even though a woman's body is the body that does pregnancy, when it came to how they evaluated what was happening, it was good and it was pregnancy if it was men, and it was this not so good, more malevolent thing, it was debukim if it was women. In Japan, another example in there is, so Sarid says, a woman who thought about this a lot, lots of women being possessed, there's lots of women being possessed, and this is related to their non-autonomous experiences. Look, women already do childbirth. Women already know what it's like to have something growing inside of you and taking you over. Women play a receptive role in heterosexual intercourse, right? Receiving things is something these bodies are key to do. And she says, what if that's part of what you could understand then as a gendered capacity for women's religiousness, right? So rather than thinking of receptivity, I don't have to, at UW, I'm sure I don't have to go into jokes about bending over to get soap or things like that, right? Like the idea that receptivity is shameful or negative and it's not masculine and those kinds of things. And she's turning that on its head in that when it comes to the female body that does receptivity, it does non-autonomous. If you're a pregnant woman, you are not a single individual anymore. You're already experiencing yourself as more than one thing. So in terms of voice, this gets very interesting. Michel de Certeau, one of my favorite Jesuit academics, makes the following observation in his study of the 17th century nuns of Ledun. And he says, the possessed woman's speech is nothing more than the words of her other. She can only have the discourse of her judge. Remember, the judges and the doctors are writing it down? She's not writing it down. From the outset, this situation excludes the possibility of tearing the possessed woman's true voice away from its altered state, right? It's not like you could peel down the layers and find out what she was really saying, because by definition, she is not speaking. So on the surface of these texts, if you're reading from the judges, the doctors, the lawyers, the anthropologists, she's doubly removed because they are the ones doing the writing, and it's not like you could get under that to find out what she was really going to say, because this is a voice that speaks through her. So it's not only doubly lost, but it has often got critical symbolic value. And so in post-colonial theory, you guys got your dose of that last week. It's the trope of being possessed has worked. You can imagine this. Think of hybridity. The idea that I must speak in English to speak, right? So now I am spoken through by a language that is not my mother tongue. A foreign tongue is speaking through me. So this has been a very interesting realm of thought in terms of how does a post-colonial identity actually insinuate a kind of being possessed? I better stop. I'm sure I'm running out of time. The entry covers the work, war, and play of possession. So let me just wrap up saying work, you should hear work as in working the spirit, right? So there's a reason I use the word work, and there's a reason that Murphy uses the word work, and I want you to wrestle with that, right? Why is there work accomplished in spirit possession? The second element, war, there's not a situation we're going to that does not have the violence of the slave trade behind the origin of these traditions. And the ancestors speaking through the enslaved, having managed to make that middle passage with the people, the ancestors are very concerned with the territoriality and a restoring of the integrity of the people. And then play. I began this whole thing with the fact that spirit possession attracts attention. It's a good show. There's always going to be performative elements that impact why it's being recorded, why it's being noticed, and the fact that if you're not there to notice me being possessed, it didn't happen because I was gone. So work, war, and play are three ways of understanding what's happening with spirit possession. I hope this helps you flip from thinking of spirit possession as an exotic, foreign thing to reconsidering how actually similar to experiences we might be familiar with, how normal across time and cultures this experience has been, and how the relationship to a will that is bigger than the human is actually central to religious identities in general. We've gone from exotic wackiness to a recentering of what is normal. I hope it's been fun. Hope it's been helpful. Okay, bye.